through a red light, that person needs to make sure that he's not putting anyone at risk. Or imagine at the rear edge of the ambulance if someone needs CPR, say. So again, while this time applies to the driver and also the rest of the occupants. And then exception number 5, children. If we have a kid below 135 centimeters tall, that child could be sitting down in one of the back seats without the seatbelt and also without the child seat. On one hand, because the taxi driver won't have different devices, different child seats, according to the child's age, height, or weight. And on the other hand, because when we are below 135 centimeters, the seatbelt doesn't fit properly. It goes up. It could be quite risky for the child as well. Even though legally speaking, the exception exists, what I've seen in my daily life is that the taxi driver refuses to take the child unless we tell them that we need the child seat and they bring it accordingly. Yeah, so recommendation will be calling the cab and telling them that we need the child seat and they will bring it accordingly and we are all happy and the child is 100% safe. Keep insisting that exception is for taxis, not Ubers, not Cabifys, and definitely not in private vehicles. Private vehicles, the child needs the child seat. So there's this question asking about a 9-month pregnant lady. Seatbelt yes or seatbelt no? What do you think?
Why not?
Exactly. Yeah, so there's one of these exceptions that we've mentioned. For example, a medical no. Otherwise, seatbelt yes, of course. Following one then, the child seat. Mandatory for children. When I say children, it could be anyone below 18. Yeah, if it's 18, that's an adult. Below 18, for me, is a child. So, is the height 135 centimeters exactly or below. Child seat, please, according to the child's age, height, and weight. But if you are asked about the most important characteristic, the weight. So, the child is kept inside of the car, regardless of the impact. Generally speaking, the child seat belongs in one of the back seats, but preferably the middle one. If there is a lateral impact, the child will have some space. It will be safer for the child to be in the middle seat, but any of the rear seats will be acceptable. And as an exception, if it's physically impossible to fit the child seat at the back, have any back seats, for example, or because we have 4 children and all of them in need of one of these child seats. So as the last resort, a child could be sitting in the front passenger seat, facing rearward, so opposite to the movement, with the passenger's airbag disconnected. If we cannot disconnect the airbag, the child is not allowed in the front seat anymore. So normally if we open the glove compartment, there's a switch, or throughout the settings of the car, we can disengage it. But one way or another, we need to make sure when sitting the child in the front, facing rearward, that the airbag is deactivated. So if we go throughout the possibilities of having a child in the car. First off, if the child is 135 centimeters, we need the child seat. Taller than 135, the child could be sitting anywhere. Yeah, so front, back, wherever the child or wherever you want him to be sitting down. The thing is, 135 up until 150, we could have it with just the seatbelt or both. Seatbelt plus a booster. Booster elevating the child's height so the seatbelt fits better. But the moment the child is taller than 150, again, it's allowed in any seat, front or back, but seatbelt alone. Yeah, taller than 150. If we try to put on a booster, the child's head will be too close to the car's ceiling, let's say. In case of an accident, it wouldn't be safe. Make sense? Yep. Another one, the airbag. treatment in private cars, front, the one for the driver, the one for the front passenger.
Maria?
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah, excuse me, just one question. I mean, it's theoretical, but what if someone is, it's not theoretical, it could happen, someone who is above 18 but is shorter?
So in that case, they need to have an approved system that elevates their heights. That is as passengers. And if they are
Yes, as
drivers,
passengers.
yeah, and if they are drivers, because it could happen, yeah, that they are drivers as well, in that case, they need modifications done to the car.
Okay.
Yes, so depending on how high or how tall they are, they need the pedals to be extended, yeah, an extension of the pedals, or the seats going lower and further. So depending on the specific height.
But as passengers, they need kind of a booster, an approved booster.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a passenger, yeah, the approved booster, yeah, is similar. Yeah, it's kind of a booster. And as drivers, there's specific modification. And that is one of the reasons why we need the medical test before the theory exam. Yeah, because in that medical test, they will tell us the modifications that we might need. We could have someone that is really short, let's say. We could also have someone that is lacking an arm or something like that. Yeah, and all of the modifications required will be specified in that medical exam.
Manga, another question about toddlers who needs to sit at the back seat backwards. Is there a limitation for the age that they need to sit backwards?
The recommendation is up until they are 4. So 3, when they turn 4, it's not recommended that they sit backwards anymore because they don't fit.
Yeah, they don't fit even before. Crazy. It's just a recommendation. It's not like the.
No, it's not a must. It depends also. Some of them won't let you place the child rearwards. Yeah, but in case of an impact, that direction.
Backward is the safest way. Yeah.
Yeah, the same as if you're in a train. I don't know about yourselves, but when I am on a train, on a bus, somewhere public transportation, if there is any seat where I could sit opposite to the movement, I would do that. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, because if there is an accident, the crash will make my body go against the seat. It will be far safer than if I get projected.
Oh, I never thought about it in buses. Only it makes me nauseous, but it's better to be alive, you say.
I mean, that is just me, okay? So after all of the first aid courses that we need to undergo and everything, especially when we finish the first aid course, I started sitting in my car if I'm a passenger. I don't cross my legs anymore because of the possible injuries in the hip. If there's an accident, it's like you start double thinking everything. And in a public transportation, I say the opposite. But myself, because I'm kind of a nerdy, okay? All right.
I have a question too about the seatbelt used for toddlers. So like last week we were in Madrid in the city, and the taxi driver didn't have a seatbelt, or she took a seatbelt on. She didn't have any sort of like
seat.
Yeah, thank you. Is that legal?
Depending on the height. Is she 135?
I mean, she's 3. Sorry, there's crying, so I have to mute.
It's fine. It's not about the age, yeah? The obligation to use the child seat is according to the height, not the age. Yeah, for the age, what we get is the recommendation of sitting backwards or not.
Yeah. That wasn't legal. Would that be on me, or would that be on the taxi driver?
No, it's okay. It's okay because it's below 135 and it's a taxi. It will be pretty reasonable. Yeah. What I'm saying is, it could have been quite dangerous if you put on the seatbelt because maybe it was on the neck, wasn't it?
No, I put the seatbelt on because I was just trying to think as safe as what the safest way to do it.
Okay, so
but I guess it's not safe.
The best is the child seat. I have to be honest. Yeah, the best is is the child seat. It is permitted to have the child like with the seatbelt alone in that case, or even without anything in the taxi. In the taxi, it's permissible. Yeah, but if
It's not realistic. You can't go around town with like the giant chair. It's not realistic.
yeah, but only in the
For
taxi.
short drives, it's fine. It's like the
Yeah, and I've also had my baby in my baby carrier and me with a seatbelt on. Is
Yeah.
that allowed?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because
Love
in the
it,
taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you told me if it's an Uber, no. If it's your private car, no. But in the taxi, yeah.
Uber would never take a toddler or a baby. They're like really, really keeping it there. Never.
When calling the taxi, what I would do back in the day is asking them to bring the child seat, and they did.
Of course, it's like extra 40 euros for that. Of course, they will happy to bring their chair.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, that would be the safest. But back in the day, they didn't charge me extra. Okay, so extra. Yeah. Maybe I need to change my line of work and become a taxi driver. I'm gonna start thinking
Especially with toddlers.
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So airbags then. Front airbags are compulsory in all cars. The rest of them optional fitments. So the ones on the seats deploying from the roof and everything optional. Because of an explosive charge. And the front ones, especially, they do so really quickly. They do so at around 300 kilometers per hour. If anything gets in the way, could be projected onto someone's body. So that's why the GPS needs to be placed away from the open. In the way, we could suffer quite important injuries. So the airbag is great and it's really safe, provided that on 25 centimeters between our bodies and the opening of the airbag. So say that we are the driver, 25 centimeters between our bodies and the steering wheel. Minimum 10, but the ideal distance 25 or even a little bit more than 25 centimeters. Following one, headrests or head restraints. The goal will be avoiding neck injuries, but to do that, they need to be properly regulated. And I see very few people regulating the headrests. So let's see. Well, top of the head needs to go leveled up with the top of the headrest. Or if you don't have that answer in the exam, center of the headrest will go eye level. It's the same thing, yeah, but properly regulated. And another thing happens that when there is a crash, the our necks happen when our head is swinging back. So we need the minimum distance possible between the back of our heads and the headrest. So that distance there, as minimum as possible, and not exceeding 4 centimeters. Over 4 centimeters distance here is the same as not having the headrest. Yeah, we are getting exposed to quite a serious injury in the neck vertebrae. And in order to avoid that distance, new manufacturers could install an interactive or an active headrest. In case an accident happens, the moves forward to minimize that distance between head and neck. And like that, between head and headrest. And like that, the neck vertebrae staying as much as possible at their natural position. Yeah, so that is another reason why I'm sitting backwards in a bus, on a bus, on a train.
Is this one of the things that we need to adjust when we get in the car in the taxi, for example?
Mirrors, make sure that the seatbelt is fitting and the headrest as well before we get started. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And the mirrors, because everything else we have it in mind, but is we start traveling. Yeah, we initiate the driving exam. At some point, we look at the mirror, and there was someone else sitting there before we started the exam, and we realize we see nothing throughout the interior mirror. What should we do in that case? Regulate it while we move, or pull over and regulate it?
Pull over.
Pull over.
Yeah,
Over.
but it's so normal for us as experienced drivers that normally what happens, especially in the exam, that we are nervous on top of everything else, is that they do it at the spot while moving. That is a minor mistake. Yeah, letting go of the steering wheel when we are not supposed to, it's a minor mistake. Yeah, so careful there. The last one of the passive safety elements to discuss is the helmet. Helmet has to be approved and it has to be fastened. Otherwise, it wouldn't be safe. And failing to use the helmet or having it but unfastened, for example, is the same or pointed action. When it comes to the motorcycle and mopeds, this is the only mandatory piece of equipment, and that is assuming that we don't have a seatbelt. If we had a seatbelt, then we don't even need the helmet. Everything else, gloves, boots, jackets, everything, is extra. Highly recommended, but is not an obligation to use them. So someone in a theory exam, someone could be driving a motorcycle in sandals, and that would be acceptable. And actually in our daily lives as well, depending on the city, that is acceptable as well. However, there is a question about the material of the gloves. So if you were buying gloves for a motorcycle, which material would you buy them from?
Yes, for the
Gloves for the motorcycle.
gloves.
Leather. Yeah. Leather with or leather without pattern? Pattern, like having something on the palm of the hand, like some
What's the pattern to improve grip on the
out. Yeah,
Out.
because with it will be bumpy and you need to grasp to feel the handlebar, how much you are applying pressure, that it doesn't get in the no part road. It will be far more resilient. Otherwise, it kind of burns. You know, the road surface, it kind of burns. And the rest of the equipment, the same. Yeah, for the jacket, for the trousers, if you have them, leather is the best material. But what? Helmet. Minimum material for a helmet to be approved, polycarbonate. But if you allow me, best recommendation from my personal side, carbon fiber. It will be far lighter and is really resilient. And when we are driving, that weight makes a whole of a difference as well. So polycarbonate is the minimum for a theory exam. Daily lives, I would go for carbon fiber. We got several options for when it comes to buying a helmet. For example, having a full face helmet, open helmet, for example, half helmet as well. But definitely the safest one is the whole head. Having a visor in the helmet is highly recommended, but some helmets don't have one. And so far they are approved, that would be acceptable. Keep insisting, recommendation, having full face helmet with a visor, and even better if it's anti-mist. So in winter, especially, that we are breathing, the visor doesn't fog up. Now, otherwise we see nothing. Yeah, we need to open up the visor and it's no use, basically. The size of the helmet, that's another one. The other day, I was with a friend, he wanted to buy a helmet, and he was trying on. He tried on, I don't know, 50 helmets. The poor person in the shop was really fed up with us already. The helmet needs to fit tightly. I'm not saying curtsy, but tightly. The moment that you can move your head, moves, that is not your helmet. That is not safe in case of an accident. So tightly. Color-wise, safest helmets will be light, bright colored, because we see them better. Yeah, better visibility. When there is an accident in a motorcycle, normally the motorcycle ends up somewhere else. Yeah, the first thing that you do is letting go of the motorcycle. So the more visible we make ourselves, the better. White helmet, yellow helmet, green colored helmet. Those are recommendations, right? Just bearing that in mind. And some new helmets, yeah, they are equipped with lights. So in case there is an accident or a harsh deceleration, there is a red light coming on the back of the helmet. Placing stickers on the helmet is permitted but not recommended. If there is any cracks, if there is any deformities, if there is anything going on, we wouldn't see it. And then replacing the helmet when we suffer an accident wearing it, hopefully that's not the case, when the helmet itself falls from 1.5 meters down because we don't know if there is some internal damage, or lastly when it expires. Yeah? Helmets come with an expiration date, normally 5 years, so when they expire, we need to replace them. Guys, done with chapter 5. How are we going? Yeah?
Oh, going good.
Let's go chapter 6 then. Shortest chapter ever, because chapter 6 in the book is about driving lessons. So what we're going to be discussing when to apply the, well, you're experienced drivers, most of you, so not even during the driving lessons, but for fresh learners, when to apply the clutch, when to start accelerating, and so on. For the theory exam, we are going to focus on number of mirrors, the controls in a motorcycle, and the extra fitments, for example, when it comes to motorcycles compared to private cars, and the fitment of lights. But well, let's go a little bit step by step.
But there can be questions in the exam about the clutch and stuff, right? It's still... no.
No, not really. I haven't seen them. The ones that I've seen is which gears to use, and that is something that we are going to talk about. When we go uphill or downhill, what will really slippery surface. But when to operate the clutch, when to let go, how, no, not really.
Okay.
So I'm just saying it because mentioning it, but we got these 3 pedals, the clutch with the left foot, and then the other 2, accelerator and brake, that we operate with the right foot. Just for fun, really, because keep insisting, I haven't seen a question about that. Imagine that we are driving, let's say 24 kilometers per hour, 24, 25, and we are approaching a red light. We need to stop, so what would you do? First clutch and then brake, kind of simultaneously together, or firstly brake and then apply the clutch?
No, it's always the clutch first, downshift. This way you can, well, you're going at 25, so you probably be at first or maybe second gear. So you can go down to first and slow it down, and then apply the brake slowly.
We stop in second gear, not first. Yeah, so in second gear directly. So you're already in second gear, clutch, brake, and stop the car completely. Then neutral if you're a red light, so you can relax the left foot, or prepare first gear if it's a red light, if it's a stop sign, for example. So we are ready to get started as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, I get confused sometimes because I go from manual to automatic. So my one car has manual, and my new car has automatic. So I sit there and think about the clutch, and then I hit the brake on this thing.
Oh God. Careful with that.
Yeah, it's confusing, so I have to get my brain wrapped around it.
Yeah. So that is slow. What about if we are fast? What about if we are going fast, 45 kilometers per hour? But we are approaching a red light again. First clutch brake.
Clutch downshift, and apply the brake gently.
First, apply the brake gently, then clutch, then downshift 2 seconds, and then continue braking, applying the clutch until stopping completely. So the moment we apply the clutch, we lose engine brake, and we want the engine brake. So whenever possible, possible, if the engine is not stalling out, press down the brake pedal, and then use the clutch when we need to downshift, let go of the clutch, and then when we are slowly 21, 22, the engine will stall out, so both together until the car stops completely. Another one.
I use the clutch to slow down. You know what I mean? I push the clutch in, and then I apply the brake at the same time, so it slows the car down. This way I'm at.
Lose the habits. Yeah, that is something examiners will pay attention to. So lose that habit. Yeah, if you're going slowly, yeah, because otherwise the engine will stall out. But otherwise, get used to braking first and then applying the clutch when necessary. Steering wheel. While you are driving, and in the driving exam as well, both hands at the wheel unless you're doing something that we are allowed to do while we are in movement. For example, changing gears, or for example, turning on off the air conditioning, turning on off one of the lights. The rest of the time, both hands at the steering wheel. And this could be an exam question. The position of the hands, clockwise, 10 to 2 or a quarter to 3. If you need to turn, there's a bend ahead and you need to turn, we don't cross the hands, the arms in front of it. Move the steering wheel ourselves. Yeah. And then the handbrake or the parking brake, first off, the car stops completely and then we apply it to keep it immobilized. When it comes to the gears, the low gears, first, second, will give us torque, they will give us strength, power, if you prefer. High gear, fifth, sixth gear, will allow us to drive at a high speed, like faster speed allowed. So, if you are in a downhill slope or in an uphill slope, do you use lower gears than the regular ones? The same gears as if we were on a horizontal surface? Or higher gears?
Lower gears when you're going down, of course.
And up as well, yeah? When we are going up, we need the power.
You need more power, yeah.
Yeah, and when you go down, you need the engine brake. Yeah. Say that you're on a slippery surface. There is snow on the road. There's ice on the road. Which gears would you use in that case? Higher gear than the regular one? The same one? Or a lower gear than the regular one on a dry surface, let's say?
Higher.
Higher, indeed, yeah. Otherwise, the wheels could spin out, yeah. We need to be as gentle as possible, and we're gonna do that by using high gears, right? Another one, we need to discuss now about motorcycles and why. Are we allowed to drive motorcycles with a B-class license?
Yes. Until
No.
125,
No.
I think.
No.
Until 125, yes, cubic centimeters. How much experience do we need?
3 years.
More than 3 years.
Yes, indeed. And where are we allowed to drive that motorcycle? Anywhere in the world, anywhere in the European Union, or only in Spain?
In Spain.
Only in Spain.
Only in Spain. Great. Fine. So the same thing that we did with our right foot in the car. We accelerate and we brake with the right foot. That will be done with the right hand side of our bodies in the motorcycle. And then anything related to transmission, left hand side of our bodies. One by one. Right hand at the handlebar, we got front brake and also the accelerator. The right leg or right foot, if you prefer, the rear brake, because in a motorcycle they work independently. Left hand side, left hand, the clutch, and left leg, left foot, the gear lever. The questions are very straightforward about this topic, but they exist. So let's review again. We are accelerating in a motorcycle. Which part of our bodies will do that? Right leg,
Right hand.
right hand, yeah. You are using the rear brake of the motorcycle. Which part of your body do you use?
Right leg.
Yes, indeed. You are applying the clutch.
Left hand.
Yes, indeed. You are changing gear, so the gear lever.
Left leg.
left leg indeed. And just one missing, the front brake.
The right hand.
Yes, indeed. There you go.
Can we have the previous slide just once again for a screenshot? Thank you.
Actually, I have the very same picture, I believe, in the summaries.
Ah, okay, great.
And now, comparing motorcycle lighting system and the private car lighting systems. In both of them, we must have position lights. In both of them, we will have low beams and high beams. There's a small difference here. In private cars, as a very minimum, we will have 2 low beams and 2 high beams. In a motorcycle, it could be 1 or 2 of each one of them, yeah, depending on the design. Braking lights, mandatory fitment again for both motorcycles, private cars as well. Indicators, same thing, mandatory fitment in both of them, private cars, motorcycles as well. Anything else in a motorcycle will be optional fitments when it comes to the lights. So if we keep on comparing, front fog lights will be an optional fitment in both private cars, motorcycles as well. Rear fog lights, though, will be a compulsory fitment in a private car, optional fitment in a motorcycle. Hazard lights, mandatory fitment in a private car, optional fitment in a motorcycle. And reversing lights, mandatory fitment in a private car. In motorcycles, we don't really have a reverse gear normally. It is possible that if the motorcycle is really heavy, is fitted with reverse gear, in which case is optional to have a reverse light. But since the fitment of the rear, the reverse gear in the motorcycle itself is optional, the same applies to the reverse light. More things. In private cars, ABS mandatory, absolutely. In motorcycles, optional. Yeah, the anti-lock braking system. Airbags, private cars, mandatory fitments. In motorcycles, optional fitments. They exist, but it's not very common to see them. Normally, the airbags nowadays, we have them fitted in the jacket. Yeah, you buy a jacket to ride the motorcycle, and you can buy it with already an airbag integrated within. Much safer, if you ask me, than these ones. And lastly, in an automobile in general, maximum 3.5 tons, the minimum tread mark required for the tires is 1.6 millimeters. Otherwise, we need to replace them. While in motorcycles, it is recommended to replace them when it's at 1.6 millimeters, 2 millimeters. That is a recommendation in that case. We could continue using those tires if it comes to motorcycles, even though they are below 1.6 mil. However, if there is any cuts, any deformities, then the tire has to be replaced. And lastly, when it comes to mirrors, in automobiles other than motorcycles, in a private car, for example, we need 2 mirrors the whole time. General rule, we need left and interior. But if there's anything hindering the visibility through the interior mirror, say that we have some stickers at the back, say that we have tinted windows, say that we have curtains, that we have shades like this, say that we have passengers, we have loads at the back, anything that is disrupting the visibility through the back window, we are gonna need the right mirror together with the left. Yeah, the left is there all the time. But in that case, since the interior is not giving us enough visibility, we will need the right one on the side. So that means that normally we drive a private car with the 3 mirrors, but if we get to the car and the right mirror is damaged, but the visibility through the interior one is perfect, are we allowed to drive that car?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it's the left one, the one that is damaged?
No, because the left one is actually mandatory.
Yeah. All right. So motorcycles then.
You can have black shades windows
At the back?
No, on your car, like at the back or sides. Like I know it's illegal in some countries over here.
Front. like the front one, the front windshield, and the front windows, no. In the rear ones, yes, but they are not completely black. Yeah, they are 90% opacity or even less. Yeah, and they need to be certified. So, for example, if your car is not fitted with tinted windows and you want to fit them, they need to be a certified equipment, and you need the ITV inspection, the extraordinary one for them.
Mm-hmm.
The mirrors then for the motorcycle will be just one on the left if the maximum speed by construction is 100 kilometers per hour or below. Two mirrors, one on the left, one on the right, if it exceeds 100 kilometers per hour. So what happens if we have a two-wheel moped? By construction, what is the maximum speed of a two-wheel moped?
A moped,
45.
it's 45, right?
Yeah. So if it's 45, how many mirrors do we need?
One mirror on the left side.
Yeah, and that would be enough. The right one is acceptable. Yeah, it's permitted, but it's not an obligation. Say that we have a motorcycle with a self-protective structure, and by construction reaches a maximum of 100 kilometers per hour. How many mirrors does it need?
Needs the two mirrors.
One.
One on the left.
Just the one?
Yeah, because what matters is the speed, not having the roof, let's say. Yeah, the roof, the self-protective structure is not relevant when it comes to the fitment of mirrors. If it were 101 kilometers per hour, you need two mirrors, but 100 exactly, just the one on the left. Chapter 6 completed. Are we all right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the end. Sorry. Let's go to the end of the book then. Chapter 14. That is safe driving. What I would like to pay attention to in this chapter is bad weather conditions. Yeah, when it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's foggy, and so on. But before we get there, let me ask you a couple of questions. Say that we are in a winding road, so we have really sharp bends ahead of us. The curves, they are really sharp, and we are approaching one. Are we allowed to use the horn? Are we allowed to go honking before reaching the bend?
No. Yes, to alert
Yes.
people who are coming.
To alert the oncoming traffic driver that we are approaching. It's not that we do it anytime. It's only when there is a really close bend with reduced visibility and we are attempting to avoid an accident. Yeah, that will be classified or qualified as avoiding an accident. Apart from honking, we could flash the high beams as well. If we are approaching the bend, that is the appropriate moment to slow down and adjust the gearbox. Once we are inside of the bend, we are just going to focus on the direction, making sure that we don't invade the oncoming traffic, and that's it, basically, navigating throughout the bend until we get out. One more thing, talking about situations where honking is permitted. Say this time that we are getting out of a garage, right, of a parking facility, maybe inside of a building, and we don't really have much visibility. Could we use the horn or flash our high beams while we are getting out of that parking facility?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are alerting pedestrians that we are coming out. We will do so very slowly and very carefully because we need to give way to the pedestrians. But if there is no visibility, we can't tell whether there is someone approaching or not. We need to alert the pedestrians that we are coming out, especially if you got a hybrid or if you got an electric car that there is no noise, practically, there is no sound coming out of the car, and the poor pedestrian wouldn't know that we are getting out. Yeah.
So even inside the city.
Yeah. Yeah, because in that case, it counts as avoiding an accident. It's not being aggressive. It's really saying, I see nothing, and I need to make sure that the pedestrians, the rest of the road users, know that I'm approaching as well. Yeah, so prepare to stop if necessary, but warn everybody else about it. Let's start talking about rain then. When it's raining, definitely the braking distance increases because the road surface is slippery, but specifically it could double up. So that is 1 possible exam question. Yeah, if we got rain, if it's raining, what happens with the braking distance? You could be given several options. It doubles up. It could be 4 times longer, 10 times longer, doubles up. And the most dangerous moment, or the moment when that rain is really, really slippery, is at the beginning with the first few drops. Because if the road surface is already dirty with oil, with fuel, with brake fluid, plus dirt, sand from the sides of that road, combined with those few drops of water, the road surface becomes really, really slippery, far worse than if it's been raining for 30 or 40 minutes. We're talking regular rain, not like, the sky opening up. Another thing, when the brakes get wet, they lose efficiency. They work, but they lose efficiency. So it's a good idea to tap on the brake so they are as dry as possible by the moment we need to drive, to use them, to brake. And lastly, the other question that you could have in your exams is aquaplaning or hydroplaning effect happening when a layer of water builds up between the tire and the road surface. So there is no contact between the car, the tire, and the road. That happens either because there is too much water on the road surface for the grooves, for the tread mark to sweep it out. Also because the tread mark is really almost worn out, or just because we are traveling too fast. There's too much speed. Again, the grooves are not capable of sweeping the water off the road surface. Would you try and press the brake if the aquaplaning is happening?
No.
Would you try to accelerate?
No, take your feet off.
Yeah. Put feet off all of the pedals and just hold the steering wheel in the direction that we want to follow until all of the wheels regain traction. Okay. Second one, let's talk about ice or snow. Question 1. If the car is, having ice all over the place, on all windows, which ones must we clean? The front ones, the rear ones, or all of them?
All of them.
All of them, thank you. How do you clean them? How do you take the ice off? Don't you scrape it off, for example?
Hot water.
No.
Right.
Hot water could just crack the glass or thicken the layer of ice. So either the defrost, for example, in the car, a scraper, or what I do, because I'm a little bit lazy, I must confess, is that I have a spray bottle with rubbing alcohol and water mixed up. It's room temperature, so quite cold if it's winter. And if you sprinkle it all over, the ice melts away in seconds. That is not for the fuel example. Another one. If we are on an iced surface, the braking distance increases, and this time 10 times. So in rain, doubles up. In ice, it could be 10 times longer, the regular braking distance. We use the highest gear possible, as we mentioned earlier. Avoid braking and accelerating, so keep constant, even speed as much as possible. And if we need to use snow chains, as a minimum, we need them in the driving wheels, so it could be in the front or the rear, depending on the type of vehicle that we are driving. Or we could have winter tires instead of the snow chains. Winter tires, what was the maximum temperature to use them? Do you remember?
7.
7 degrees maximum temperature. There you go. Great. It's foggy. So now the visibility is really low. We're in a two-way traffic road, 1 lane per direction, and we don't have visibility. Are we allowed to overtake?
No.
1 way, same low visibility circumstances. Are we allowed to overtake?
Yes.
Yes.
If it is safe to do so, yes, indeed. Road markings. If the car is fitted with the front fog lights, those lights illuminate the road markings ahead. So especially when the visibility is that low, those front lights those front fog lights could be really helpful. At least we could guide ourselves following those lines on the road. Imagine that because it's foggy, because it's snowing, raining, whichever one it is, turns out that we don't consider that it is safe to continue traveling. What should we do in that case? Are we allowed to pull over on the side of the road?
Yes.
Absolutely. Which lights do we need while we are stationary there?
Parking lights?
Position lights, parking no, because you're not parked. So position lights together with hazards.
Hazards.
Yeah, you're stationary. We are. This is an emergency. We can't continue traveling because it's not safe. So hazard lights together with position lamps, and then waiting until the situation improves. If we are driving though, so while we are traveling, what is the mandatory usage of lights? Let's see. If it's light rain, what happens with the low beams? Are they compulsory? Are they optional? Or are they prohibited?
Compulsory.
Light rain, optional. Their visibility is not affected yet. Yeah, light rain, we don't count it as low visibility, so low beams permitted, but not compulsory. What about the fog lights, front and rear? What do you think?
No.
Yeah, light rain, no fog lights, none. Heavy rain, no, the visibility is affected. Low beams will be
Compulsory.
Yes.
and the front fog light
No.
Optional.
optional. Yeah, because the fitment is optional. If you have them, turn them on, you will see better. But if we don't have them, then we don't use them. And the rear fog light, if it's heavy rain,
Isn't it only very heavy rain?
yeah, yes it is. So rear fog light, if it's heavy rain, no, not yet. It has to be very heavy rain. For the low beam will be compulsory again. Front fog light will be optional, but yes indeed, this time the rear fog light will be compulsory. Yeah, very heavy rain for the rear fog light to be compulsory. Otherwise, no. Case scenario now, it's snowing. Low beams will be
Yes.
and the front fog light
If you need to.
Sure.
Necessary.
if you have them, yeah. If you have them and if you want to, go for it. And the rear fog light,
No.
heavy snow, low beams,
Yeah.
Yes.
front fog light,
Optional.
yep. And the rear one,
Yes.
Yes.
okay. It's foggy, low beams,
Yes.
front fog light,
Yes.
You have them.
if you have them. Yeah, yes, if you have them. And the rear fog light,
Yes.
Yes.
You have them.
Not yet.
not yet. No, it's only foggy. So, thick fog, dense fog, deep beams or low beams,
Yes.
Yes.
front fog light.
Question no. And yes.
Optional,
Yeah.
and yes, yeah. So careful. Even though they are called fog lights, if it's regular fog, rear fog lights will be prohibited.
So none of these are mandatory?
Which ones are not mandatory? The front fog light is not mandatory ever.
The dipped beam, that's compulsory?
In any event where the visibility is reduced. So
Okay.
any case scenario, apart from light rain, the rest of the bad weather conditions, yes, is compulsory. Yeah, so the question mark means optional, but whenever we get the green check, it's a must. Yeah, because we have those low beams fitted in the car. So if the visibility is low because it's heavy rain, because it's snowing, because it's foggy, low beams have to be on for sure because we have them installed. The one that we could or could not turn on is the front fog light because the fitment is optional. So if you have them, the recommendation is to use them, but having the low beams on will suffice. if you don't have them, then we can't use them at all, the front fog light. So that's why the optional usage of the front fog light. And the rear one is really intense. So if we switch them on while the visibility is more or less okay, like it's bad, but it's not awful, let's say, that rear fog light could be dazzling, could be blinding the drivers behind us. So that's why most of the time that rear fog light is prohibited, so like no use please, unless the bad weather condition is quite extreme, it's really serious. Heavy rain, very heavy rain, heavy snow, thick fog, because now the visibility is so low that we are gonna need those rear fog lights so the driver behind us can spot us, can see us on time to avoid the accident. So if it's dust clouds or smoke clouds, what can you tell me about the low beams?
Yes.
Front fog light, sorry?
Optional.
Optional.
Right, and the rear one?
No.
Okay, and if it's dense or thick clouds, thick beams?
Yes.
Front fog light,
Yes.
Optional.
yes, optional. And the rear fog light?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. So as you can see, apart from light rain, which is the exception, in any other case scenario, low beams, yes, front fog light optionally, and the rear fog light, when you have the adjective making the bad weather condition worse, could be thick, could be dense, could be heavy, except for rain. That has to be very heavy rain. One more. Let's talk about wind. The most dangerous wind is the transversal one, especially with a two-wheeler or when pulling trailers, semi-trailers. Recommendations: slowing down, any bad weather condition, the recommendation will be slow down, increase our safety distance, and this time holding the steering wheel firmly so there is no gust of wind moving us, pushing us off the lane where we are. Does anyone know or has heard about shield effect or screen effect in their daily lives, other than in the theory exam?
What was the question?
What was the shield effect or screen effect, if you have ever heard of it in your daily lives, like a proper thing?
No.
A screen effect or what?
Shield effect. The wind when we are passing, I mean, probably you know what it is, but it's just
When you pass an 18-wheeler.
for example, yeah, or a bus, or a building, or you're entering a tunnel, yeah. So there is a structure, there is something shielding us from the wind. So there comes the word, yeah. There comes the terminology. I really believe this is a direct translation because in Spanish we call them efecto pantalla. So literally screen effect if we translate word by word. But well, you could see them, it could show up in your exams as either shield effect or screen effect. And it happens exactly when we are parallel to a building, a large vehicle, or inside of a tunnel. The problem is, once we are approaching that vehicle, the wind is impacting onto our right-hand side in this case. So we need to control it by steering towards the direction of the wind a little bit, so we don't get pushed off the road completely. When we are parallel, we need to get the steering wheel completely straight forward, otherwise there's this vacuum effect trying to get us onto the track or onto the side of the tunnel. And at the third stage, that is the most dangerous one, because if there is some wind, it splits. So you got the regular one plus the one coming from the side of the building of the vehicle itself. So the shield effect, if we have to say there is one particular moment that is super dangerous, it will be the third one, the final stage. Yep. And the other way around, nice weather condition. It's sunny, so windows clean, sun visor to avoid dazzling, and sunglasses as well to avoid dazzling. These are recommendations. If it's too hot, ideal temperature inside of the car, 23 degrees. But well, anything between 20 and 24 degrees will be an acceptable temperature. If it's so drinking juice, water more often, and then whichever clothing you consider comfortable, but according to the temperature conditions. Guys, chapter 14 completed. Questions or doubts?
This is so much faster than the first one. You're right.
Yeah.
All clear.
Great. Yeah, because in this case, it's things that we have already talked about. Yeah, we talked about when to use the light, when to slow down. So it's just like just mentioning specific questions that you could have in the exam. And the same happens when we talk about chapter 15. Now that we need to talk about maintenance, because we do not have mechanical questions in the exam, there are very few questions what you could have in the exam about maintenance, and truly the majority of them answered with the same sentence. If it's a fluid, what we are checking, like oil, like coolant, anything, the vehicle has to be on a horizontal level surface, the engine has to be off, it has to be cold, and that fluid between the minimum and the maximum levels. If it's at the minimum or below, we refill it. Otherwise, we will change it, we will change the air filters, change the oil, and so on, according to the manufacturer's recommendation. Apart from having a mechanical, maintenance really, question in the theory exam that is quite unlikely, you could also have a question before the driving exam starts. So the day of the driving exam, the examiner approaches the class and has the list of all of the students taking the exam that day, and they could just call you by your name and ask you a maintenance question, something like, could you open up the hood and tell me what is the battery in this car? Or could you go ahead and show me the documentation of the car? Yeah, in the glove compartment. Could you tell us what is the brake fluid in this car? So it's not about telling them, it's about pointing out where it is. So basically saying there, that would be enough. And normally for English speakers, we tell the examiners that, well, that you don't speak Spanish, just very, very little, and sometimes they skip the question. Yeah, they just say, okay, they are not going to understand me, so forget about it. I'll just give them the instruction for the driving, and that's it. But just in case we have one of those examiners that still asks, that's why one of the files that I sent you has driving instructions translated, so how to say turn right, turn left, and so on, and also mechanical vocabulary. So that's why the mechanical vocabulary is there, yeah, just in case. But still, this is something that you're going to practice either with me or with whoever your driving instructor is. Yeah, so by the day of the exam, you will be fluent in all of these terms. Let's get started. The battery stores the electrical energy either to start up the engine, to run electrical devices while the engine is not running, or to give us the power that we need if the alternator or the belt of the alternator is damaged. It doesn't really matter which type of battery we have. The contacts, the terminals, they need to be greased and clean. So these ones over here, you will see wires connected. Those are the poles, basically. They need to be greased, clean, to avoid rust, yeah, and to have a good conductivity of the electricity. That is for all batteries. And then we got two options. This one, which is a free maintenance battery. So whenever it's dead and it cannot be recharged anymore, we will replace it. Or it could be a maintenance battery, in which case we have those bolts or big screws, let's say, that we need to open up and check inside. Sorry, I'm losing my voice today. So we need to check inside. We will see some compartments with a lead plate inside, and you will see a fluid. You will see a liquid. That is an electrolyte solution made of distilled water and sulfuric acid. If the lead plates are not bathed, like covered up by that electrolyte solution, please add distilled water up until the market. So if it's a free maintenance, we replace it when necessary. If it's a maintenance battery, we add distilled water when necessary. Second, we need to check the oil in the car. So first of all, let's make sure that it's in a horizontal level surface, engine off and cold. open up the hood, get the dipstick out, clean it while you are taking it out, and then we insert it for a second time and take it out without cleaning it. At the tip of it, there will be two markings, minimum and maximum, so we make sure the oil is between them. Apart from that, we should check the viscosity, the density, but that is not expected for a B-class license. So between minimum and maximum, it will be okay for us. Refilling it if necessary, or replacing it when the manufacturer recommends us to do so. If there is a failure in the lubrication system, one way of noticing it is the oil lamp staying on when the engine is running. Yeah, the engine is running, the oil light is on, we got a failure here. Could be the oil pump that is damaged, could be that we don't have enough oil in the system, so either replacing the oil pump or refilling it. There could be a leakage, so in that case, black stain on the road surface indicates that there is a leakage of oil, so again, we need to fix it, so we need to take it to a workshop. Or another possibility is that the engine is burning that oil. Normally, if we got a 4-stroke engine, like diesel, gasoline, regular ones, there shouldn't be oil inside of the combustion chamber. There should be only air plus that diesel or that gasoline. And in that case, when the combustion is perfect, the fumes in the exhaust go light gray, yeah, transparent, a really clear color. If that color becomes white bluish and it smells like burnt oil, really, so it smells funny, it's because there's oil in the combustion chamber. Shouldn't be there, so we need to take the vehicle to a workshop to get it repaired. Second color could be completely white, and this time that white fume is really dense. Could be caused by water that is condensing within the walls of the cylinders, so that would be okay. Just a little bit of water that is condensing because of the difference in temperature. At some point it will evaporate and that's it. But on the other hand, it could be coolant inside of the combustion chamber, and that is not okay. The engine could overheat in that case. The regular temperature in the engine is 90-95 degrees Celsius. The moment it goes over 97, 100, 102 degrees, careful, there's something going on with the cooling system. We should pull over as soon as possible, switch the engine off, and call for a tow truck. Or thirdly, if the fumes in the exhaust color is dark, like really blackish, is because we got too much fuel in the mixture. So too much gasoline, too much diesel, depending on the engine. Maybe because we're accelerating harshly, that is one possibility, let's be honest. But normally for a B-class license exam, because the air filters are clogged, they are dirty and they need to be clean, at least. Yeah, the air filters, if they are not clean, they don't let enough air inside of the engine, so in comparison, we get too much fuel. So again, when everything is okay, light color, light gray, clear color, transparent, we're all okay. Bluish, if it goes white bluish, we got oil in the combustion chamber. We are not okay anymore. If it's white, dense fumes, could be water, we are okay. Could be coolant, we are not okay. Or if it's dark, normally it's because the air filters need to be replaced. Another thing that we need to check will be the cooling system, the coolant. So guess what? Vehicle on a horizontal level surface, engine off and cold. Open up the hood and this time check the expansion chamber. This one over here. Make sure that it's completely cold. Otherwise, the system goes to a really high pressure and we could get burnt. So make sure everything is cold and then we check it. The coolant has to be between minimum and the maximum levels. If it's at the minimum or below, we refill it, if possible, please, with the same color, at least, yeah, that we got in the engine. Before we continue, let's see how is your Spanish. How do we say battery in Spanish?
Batería.
Batería.
There you go. And oil.
Aceite.
Aceite.
Perfect. Yeah. And coolant.
Refrigerante.
There you go. Well done. Okay. So I believe we are not going to have any issues during the driving lessons then with the Spanish. Fine. So let's move on. Transmission system takes the movement from the engine into the driving wheels if they are in the front. So if it's the front wheels, it's a front wheel drive. If it's the rear ones, the ones moved by the engine, are rear wheel drive. And if it's the four of them, a four wheel drive. Since as of late, traffic authorities are really interested in fuel consumption. Which one consumes more fuel, front, rear, or four-wheel drive?
I guess four-wheel drive, no?
Yeah, the four-wheel drive. We are moving four wheels, we need extra fuel to move them. Steering. The steering system allows us to steer the vehicle, to drive in the direction that we want to follow. All cars are fitted with the power steering, so whenever the engine is running, the steering wheel is really easily moved, so we can turn it easily with one single hand. But in some other cases, we could have a progressive power steering, so that stiffness will build up according to the speed. The faster we move, the stiffer the steering wheel becomes. So like this, if we are driving at a high speed, the corrections of the trajectory will be really slight, and like this, we don't get involved in a possible accident. Suspension. Their goal, keeping the tires touching the road surface 100% of the time. Yeah, if it were the whole time, that would be a perfect suspension system. Depending on the type of suspension, it could be more or less comfortable depending on if it's a harder or softer suspension. But if some of the elements in the suspension system, the shock absorbers, for example, are faulty, the tire will be tilting, will be bouncing kind of on and off on the road surface. That means that the stability will be reduced, braking distance increased because the tire is not touching the road surface, so there is no brake efficiency in that case. And the wear of the tire, of the tread mark, will be irregular, yeah, on and off on the road, so irregularly wearing down. Low beams are always allowed. You see, we don't have any prohibitions to use low beams because we can regulate the height of the beam. But if the suspension is faulty, even though we got those low beams well regulated, they could dazzle. Yeah, so one of the possibilities of dazzling someone with the low beams only happens when the suspension system is faulty, or for example, when the tires are overinflated. Yeah, because the tire, when it's overinflated, it tends to bounce on and off on the road surface again with the irregularities. The brakes. We need to check the brake fluid first. So, horizontal level surface, please. Engine off. If possible, cold, although in this case it's not that relevant. And check the brake fluid. It actually has a cap on it that says brake fluid, literally. And it has to be between the minimum and the maximum level, so it's nothing new.
It's in English?
Yeah.
Even in Spanish cars?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really surprising.
And if it's not, if it doesn't say anything, it normally does. Yeah, in all of the cars that I've used, it says brake fluid, literally. And if it doesn't, you will see the symbol. That is the symbol of the brakes. And what happens if we step on the brake pedal and there is no resistance? It goes down to the floor. What's happening?
There is a problem with the fluid because there's like not enough pressure of fluid in the tube.
Because there's a leakage normally. Yeah.
There's a leakage, yeah.
If it's spongy, you get a spongy feeling when pressing down the brake. What's going on?
There's air in the tubes. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. It could be that the brake lines are weak as well, but normally it's air. Yeah. And well, this one, we haven't mentioned it yet, but let's see what you think. We step on the brake and we hear these hissing, squeaking noises. What is that?
Un ratón.
No, hopefully not.
This could be faulty.
Yeah, the disc or the parts. Let's be positive here and think that it's just the parts that we need to replace them. But yeah, it could be the disc that needs to be replaced. Or if we have drums, the friction shoes or the drums themselves, they need to be replaced. How do we say brakes in Spanish? Does anyone know?
Freno.
There you go. Oh, great. Everybody speaks Spanish here. All right, so the wheels. You know this, so asking questions again. How often do we need to check the wheels? Every
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
and also
Long journey.
great. When we are checking the pressure, how much pressure do we need in the tires?
The manufacturer. Manufacturers.
There you go. Manufacturer's recommendation. Tires cold, warm, or hot while we are checking the pressure? Cold indeed. How often are we recommended to replace the tires? Every
5 years.
great, every 5 years, and the obligation to replace them when the tread mark depth is
When the
tread mark depth is
less than 1.6.
1.6.
less than 1.6, unless you are driving a
Motorcycle.
there you go.
Motorcycle.
Perfect. Yeah, if it's a motorcycle, you could keep them. If it's a private car, if it's any other automobile, maximum 3.5 tons, less than 1.6 millimeters, bye-bye tires. Okay. Turns out we are replacing our tires. Could we just replace the 2 tires in the front axle? Is that acceptable?
Yes.
If they're in the same axle, that's okay. Could we have different tires on each side of the same axle?
No.
Yeah, in the same axle, they need to be identical. And I mean the exact same ones.
Do you get a ticket if they're not?
Sorry?
Do you get a ticket if they're not identical?
And actually, if it's an ITV inspection, you don't pass it. You get an unfavorable result and you need to change them back. Yeah,
So like
identical.
I have a flat tire right now. Do I need to get both of them, the front replaced, if it's on the right front?
Or repaired. Yeah, if
They
it's
can't repair it because the insurance came in it's like, I guess I screwed it up too much. But
okay, in that case, I'm afraid so. Unless the tire is pretty much new, in which case, you know my point. But
it was
otherwise,
a
yeah.
year ago. Like I got new tires a year ago. So is that pretty much new? Kind of?
No, unless you tell me I didn't drive during the last year.
Okay, never mind.
So both of them in that case, unfortunately. And I believe someone asked me about this. I can't remember if it was Madeline maybe. Is it mandatory to have a spare tire in a private car?
Yeah, I did that. I did ask that because I don't have a spare tire in my car right now.
Okay, but if you have a repair kit, something that will help you continue in case there's a flat tire, that would be acceptable. So either we got the spare tire with the tools to replace it, or you could have a repair kit, for example. That is okay. In my car, I don't have a spare tire anymore. Yeah, when I went buy it, if I wanted the spare tire, I had to pay a lot extra, and I said, forget about it. Give me the repair kit. And that is okay. Yeah, it's either one. If we get a temporary spare wheel with us, using it while we move, since it is smaller than the rest of the wheels, the maximum speed is 80 kilometers per hour. It's written down on the rim, it's written down on the wheel itself, but normally 80 kilometers per hour. And the maximum distance to drive with them, 200 kilometers, really until the nearest workshop where we could have it replaced, but altogether 200 kilometers. how do we say tire in Spanish?
It's like with an R, Reina?
Rueda. That is the wheel. And the tire itself, the tire itself is neumático. Yeah, but normally in Spanish, like our daily lives, we always say that we are going to change the ruedas, so the wheel, when we really are just going to change the neumático. We are just going to change the tire. Yeah. Okay, another chapter completed. So, another one that we need to discuss is traffic accidents. This is a little bit longer and a very commonly or frequently asked topic in the exam. So when it comes to exam questions, there are some topics that show up in all of them pretty much, and those are chapter 3. So something about distractions, alcohol, drugs, medication, something about that needs to show up in the exam. Minimum one question, could be more than one. Chapter 5, something about active or passive safety elements. Minimum one question as well. Chapter 16, traffic accidents. Again, all exams will have minimum a question about this topic. And also safety distances. Could be the front distance that we need to keep, or if we're in the tunnel, if we're in a regular vehicle, if for example, we are overtaking the safety distance side by side, when it's a moped or when it's a private car and so on, or related to reaction, braking and stopping distance, whether they increase, decrease, or stay the same according to the condition that you are asked. If we are tired, if it's raining, and so on. So one of those topics for sure. And the other way around.
You said 3, 5, and 16.
Plus safety distances. Yep, that those are either at the final pages of chapter 10 or in the maneuvers chapter when we discussed the safety distance, the lateral one, when overtaking in general. Yeah. And the other way around, questions that are unlikely to show up in a theory exam. Chapter 1, definitions, like having a specific question saying what is a motorway. Like imagine the definition of a motorway, how to differentiate it from a dual carriageway. No, not really. Or chapter 15, the one that we have just completed, mechanically speaking, no questions about how does the engine work. It's a 4-stroke engine, how does it work? Yeah, that we got the compression, that we got the ignition and so on. No. And maintenance, very few questions, very few. Yeah, so those two topics, chapter 1, chapter 15, it's unlikely to have them. Could happen, but it's unlikely. And the other ones that we mentioned, 3, 5, 16, and safety distances, for sure. Anything else? Random. Yeah, anything else is whatever, because the exam is created at the spot. When we sit down, we put on our NIE number or our DNI number, whichever one it is, click on Entrar, and the system creates a specific exam for you. So everyone there, imagine there are 200 people together in the same ward, in the same room. Each one of them will have a different exam.
Chapter 8 is always on there too, yeah?
Actually, I've had students coming back from an exam saying that they had no questions about signaling, so it could happen. Yeah, it's difficult because of how large the chapter is, but it happens. Or no questions about speed limits. Yeah, like that moment when you are studying the speed limits, and it's like, what a nightmare with all of the boxes and the numbers, and coming back from the exam saying, hey, no speed limit question. Yeah, after studying so much.
I'm sorry, I can't remember if you said anything. How about, I don't drive a manual car, but how much do I need to know about that, the exam?
Just what we discussed today about the gears, when to use low or high, we were uphill, down for the parking. Yeah, if your parts uphill, the first get engaged, downhill, reverse get engaged. And later today, we're gonna talk about when to change gears, like the revolutions per minute to change gears, but not really like operating the car. We don't need to know that. what I would like to say, just saying it just in case, is for the driving exam, if we take the exam in an automatic car, the license is limited to automatic vehicles only. So we are not allowed to drive manual transmission. Yeah, so to bear it in mind, just in case you weren't told about it. If we take the exam with a manual transmission, then we are allowed to drive both manual and automatic.
So if we just did the automatic for this exam and then later on we want to be able to drive a manual, we would just have to take that portion again, correct? Okay.
Yeah, only the driving part. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about traffic accidents. This is a very not enjoyable topic at all, but we need to discuss it, and it's a common exam question. So let's see. The first thing that we need to talk about is factors responsible for the accidents. Top one will be human factor. 70 to 90% of the accidents, if we need to be more specific, are caused by a human mistake. Could be the drivers, could be one of the passengers, could be a pedestrian. 10 to 35% of the accidents because of the road and its environment. If it's in a poor condition, if it's narrow, if it's raining, if it's foggy, and so on. And lastly, 4 to 13% of the accidents because of a mechanical failure related to the vehicle itself. Normally, if we need to point fingers, the tires. If you notice, the numbers don't add up because when an accident happens, it's normally due to several factors happening together. The road was slippery, the driver had a poor decision making and was traveling too fast, and on top of everything else, maybe the tires were a little bit worn out. So it was a combination of several things, let's say, happening together. The second thing, this evening's lesson is going to be fun. Sorry. The costs of the accidents. Could be human, could be medical, could be administration costs, or it could be material damage. So I tell you what's going on, and you tell me how to justify it. An ambulance. If we need an ambulance, which kind of cost would it be?
Medical.
Firefighters.
Administration.
Victims in an accident or their families and friends.
Human.
Human indeed. Vehicles involved in the accident, damaged.
Material.
Yeah, material indeed. Insurance.
Administration.
Yeah, administration. Years of production, years of productivity lost. Human. Yeah, human. Hospital.
Medical.
Yeah. And building. Give me one second. There. Hospital bills, sorry?
Medical.
Medical. Okay. So at the end of the day, who pays for all of these accidents? Directly or indirectly? Yeah. All of us, yeah, the whole of society. Directly, ourselves or someone we love gets involved in an accident, or indirectly, because most of those costs will be paid out of the social security. Yeah, the insurance will pay partially for them, but not entirely. Yeah, the roads, maintaining the road, placing the road signs together, the hospital, the social security will take care of most of those costs. And lastly, our duty is stopping and assisting in case of an accident if the help is not organized and assuming our lives are not in danger. For example, never mind if we are drivers or pedestrians, this applies to all of us. If there is an accident happening, but the driver of the accidented car or some other driver is already helping out, putting up the V16 light, for example, is it mandatory for us to stop? No, help is already being organized, so unless we are directly requested for our help, we would continue. Situation number 2. There is an accident ahead, but this time there is a truck on fire and it has orange plates, so it's transporting some sort of dangerous materials. is it mandatory that we stop and provide assistance?
No.
Yeah, we don't know which kind of dangerous goods we got in that truck, so we are not exposing our lives to save someone else's. So we continue. Whenever possible, we will pull over, or whenever possible, we will just stop and call the emergency services, telling them about the situation. Let's say that this time we are driving or we are walking, could be either or, and we are approaching an accident. No one is doing anything about it, and it's a regular situation. We don't have any dangerous goods involved. Is it mandatory then to stop and provide assistance?
Yes.
That's the term. And failing to do that in that case will count as a criminal offense, punishable with a maximum of 2 years prison. When we talk about assisting, though, we are not talking about first aid. Therefore, first aid is not an obligation. The obligation is just protecting the scene of the accident with the V16 line, the emergency ahead triangles, and calling the emergency services, waiting until they arrive. In Spain, we do not have a Good Samaritan law. It doesn't exist. So anything that we do, even with the best of intentions, bear in mind that we could be liable for. And apart from that, that is my obligation as far as the legislation is concerned to tell you, bear in mind that sometimes in the heat of the moment, let's say, we try to do things more rapidly than we should, and if we are not really medically trained, sometimes we could make the situation worse, the injuries and everything worse. So it's really a matter of protecting the victims, that they don't suffer any more injuries, and hopefully the emergency services will take really little time to arrive. Normally they are due in less than 30 minutes, depending on where the accident happened. It could be 5 minutes, it could be normally maximum 30. So hopefully everything will work out perfectly. But just knowing that the first aid is not the obligation here. It's just protecting those victims, the scene of the accident, avoiding further accidents from happening, and alerting those emergency services. Another thing to discuss is when and where the accidents happen. Let's talk about driver's consent, and I'm talking in general. Any driver, could be a private car, could be a motorcycle, could be a cyclist, for example. Let's start with when. When does the majority of accidents happen? Inside of the city or no? Let's start with when, sorry. Holidays and weekends or working days?
Holidays.
Working day.
Holidays and weekends. Holidays and weekends, there are more accidents. During working days, you could be asked about the worst day of the week. When does the majority of accidents happen? During working days, Monday to Friday?
Friday, because everyone wants to get home.
So, Friday when we are going home, because we are tired, we are in a rush, because we want to get home early and do something with the family, with friends over the weekend. So normally they happen during holidays and weekends, but if you're asked specifically daily days, like working days, Friday afternoon after leaving work. Question number 2. Where does actually the majority of accidents happen? Inside or outside of the city?
Outside.
More accidents inside. Because an accident could be anything. Could be that we are parking and we dent the car. That is an accident already. We got plenty of intersections in the city. We got plenty of road users around us. So the majority of accidents, not fatal ones, but the majority of accidents happen inside of the city. While when we talk about fatalities, when we talk about deaths or more serious accidents, then they will be outside of the city. All of this, we are talking about drivers. So majority of accidents inside of the city, serious accidents happening outside. More specifically, conventional roads. Because in a conventional road, we are sharing the road with the oncoming traffic, the same carriageway, and also with other road users. We have intersections, we have other road users, so conventional roads tend to be the most fatal roads when it comes to accidents. What about the safest roads by design? If we had to think it objectively, which ones are the safest roads that we could think of?
Those with fences and something to like put a barrier between those driving directions.
So you're describing a
Autovías, autopistas.
autopistas. Yeah, so motorways and dual carriageways are the safest roads by design indeed. Precisely because of that, yeah, the directions are separated, physically separated. We don't have intersections at the same level. It's just normally a straight, quite straight road. We don't have like twisting or bending. We don't have oncoming traffic. So yeah, by design, safest roads, motorways and dual carriageways. All right, let's talk about pedestrians this time. When would the majority of accidents involving pedestrians happen? Summertime or wintertime?
Summertime.
Yeah, in winter it's cold, it's raining. Going for a walk is not really something we would like to do. So summertime. What about the location? Where does the majority of accidents happen when we talk about pedestrians this time? Inside or outside of the city?
Inside the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Inside of the city. And the majority
Have you gone over the most fatal accidents?
for pedestrians?
Yes.
Not yet.
Okay.
That is the following question.
Okay.
Where does the majority of accidents, fatal ones like pedestrians being killed, happen? Inside or outside?
Outside. No.
Inside the city.
Inside.
Everybody's walking.
Inside. There are so many accidents involving pedestrians inside of the city compared to the ones outside that even though outside the accident is quite serious, most of the time fatal, only 7% of the accidents happen outside. We don't have many pedestrians.
It's volume, right? The volume of passengers that of pedestrians in the city. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So
That's why it sounds like a trick, because it's
93, yeah, like statistically speaking, 93% of the accidents involving pedestrians happen in the city. So out of that volume, in pure numbers, let's say, we got more pedestrians being killed, let's say, like fatal accidents inside of the city. Yeah. So fatalities and more accidents if we're asked about pedestrians inside of the city. If we talk specifically about elderly, when do you think an elderly person could get involved in an accident as a pedestrian? When walking alone or accompanying a child? They get more distracted, they are not paying that much attention, so yeah, it's easily to get involved in an accident. If they are walking a child, they pay extra attention, as we all do, so the child makes it home safe. Or if it's children, which day of the week do you think is more dangerous for children when it comes to accidents happening? Monday to Friday, which day would you say? Friday. Yeah, Friday afternoon after leaving school. So similar to drivers during working days. So there we go, just in case you want to take a screenshot. Yeah, but the same things that we've been discussing so far. The following topic in this structure is talking about risk groups in traffic or vulnerable groups in traffic. Could be pedestrians, could be
Sorry, can
drivers.
you go back just one slide?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's okay.
So these pedestrians or these drivers, that is statistically speaking, get involved in a larger number of accidents. When we talk about pedestrians, it would be elderly and children. When we talk about drivers, young, elderly, and two-wheel vehicle drivers. Let's start with pedestrians and saying that the majority of accidents involving pedestrians happen because of a driver's misbehavior or because of a driver's mistake, like going through a red light, not giving way to a poor pedestrian at a crossing, or parking, stopping while occupying the sidewalk. But apart from that, there are also some things that we might do in our daily lives as pedestrians that could put us at risk. For example, not using the pedestrian crossings. Yeah, maybe there is a crosswalk nearby, but there's no traffic flow and the pedestrian crosses the road like that. It could be risky, definitely. Or waiting in the carriageway until the traffic light goes green instead of waiting in the sidewalk. Or crossing the road between parked vehicles. Yeah, this situation also happens when there is a bus. My mom gets off the bus and crosses in front, which is not safe because of the lack of visibility. So all of those situations could put us at risk as pedestrians. More specifically, when we talk about the causes of the accident, if we are asked about children, one of them, and it's normally the reason why they could get involved in an accident, is that they are short. Limited stature, that they are short, they can't see the car approaching, and they need to lean forward between two parked vehicles to see whether there is a car coming or not. And while they are checking if there's a car coming, in their heads, they automatically think that if they see the car driver has seen them. And unfortunately, sometimes that's not really the case. On the other hand, they are not yet aware of the traffic rules. I mean, look at all of the traffic rules we've seen this week. Children wouldn't know all of them. Most of the time, they learn how to navigate throughout the roads based on what their parents tell them. Thank goodness this is something that is changing, and parents are more aware of road safety. So if the traffic light is red, they tell the child to wait until it's green. For example, when I was a child, that wasn't the case. Yeah, my father would cross the road anywhere, red or green light. So I found out quite late, let's say, that you were supposed to wait until the traffic light was green. So also that is quite risky, especially when they go alone in the roads. And apart from that, their hearing is not yet completely developed. So sometimes they could get disoriented, not knowing from where the sound is coming from, and crossing the road without noticing there is a car coming. And definitely they got a lower level of attention. I mean, they are not really paying attention to the traffic flow today in M30 or in La Castellana or in Granville. Secondly, we need to discuss elderly. And in this case, since they got a deterioration of abilities, the hearing, the eyesight, if there's too much noise in the environment, they could get quite easily disoriented and frustrated. The speed of the vehicles approaching is difficult for them to assess because of the visibility being quite blurry sometimes, or even the colors in the traffic lights, whether they are green or red. It's difficult for them to check, to know, especially in summertime if it's a really bright sunny day. Also, when we talk about elderly, they normally have mobility issues. So if there is few pedestrian areas, it's unlikely that an elderly person walks 10, 15 extra feet if you prefer to use the pedestrian crossing. So normally, since they are hurting, they just venture across the road, failing to use that crossing. Another one is that sometimes the traffic lights for pedestrians, the green one, is quite short and they don't have enough time to finish crossing the road. So the traffic light goes red while they are still crossing the road. So that is also an issue. All of the roadworks having obstacles on the pavements, they could easily trip and normally they could fall, getting quite an important injury. So when we talk about elderly, normally they have accidents when they are walking alone, but when approaching an elderly, when approaching a child, is especially important to slow down and check what they are going to do next. I mean, if necessary, coming to a complete stop, absolutely, to avoid the accident. Up until now, everything makes sense? All okay?
An age limit, like elderly is 65.
Older, yeah.
65.
Older than 65. And when we talk about children, the majority of accidents happen between 7 and 9 years old.
7 and 9. And that's like can be a question that a man age 64.
No.
No, it's not.
It's not bad. It's not that bad.
Okay.
Yeah. The questions are bad, but not that much. And then drivers most at risk of collision. Could be young, could be elderly again, or it could be two-wheel vehicle drivers. So when it comes to young drivers, the age goes around 15 to 29. 15 years old because we're allowed to drive mopeds, and up until 29. The moment we turn 30, as far as traffic authorities are concerned, apparently we are not young anymore. So the causes for the accident. They're not listed in any particular order. So one of them could be over speeding, could be several of them combined, over speeding and consuming alcohol and drugs before driving, or not respecting traffic signs, traffic rules, taking too many risks, or the lack of experience. When it comes to the lack of experience, it is between the first and the second year after obtaining the license that the majority of accidents happen. So new drivers during the first year, they drive very cautiously, paying attention to everything slowly, so few accidents during that first year. But between the first and the second that they start like growing their confidence, we start taking more risks, and that is normally when the accident happens. Lack of self-esteem as lack of like not being sure, self-confidence, not being sure whether to do something or not, if they will be capable of doing something or not. The other way around, exhibitionist behaviors while driving when they are in a group, or when watching a movie like Tokyo Drift, or video games, or advertising, and trying to put those stunts, let's say, into action. Look at the causes for the accident. When do you think a young driver, statistically speaking, gets involved in accidents? Holidays and weekends or working days?
Holidays and weekends.
August.
Yeah. Day or nighttime?
Nighttime.
Yeah. Normally late at night, midnight to 6 a.m. Inside or outside of the city?
Inside. Outside.
Outside, because if it's inside, they don't drive. Yeah, if it's inside of the city, they go walking, they take the metro, they take a bus, and they make it home safe. But when the party area is located outside of the city, so they want to go somewhere different from where they are living right now, then is when they take the car, and when coming back from those party areas is when the accident happens. And in general terms, road accidents are one of the main causes of death, internationally speaking, worldwide. But in Spain, for young drivers, is the top one. So we don't have that many illnesses, we don't have catastrophes really in Spain, not that much. So the majority, the top one cause of death for these youngsters is a road accident. If we talk about elderly, older than 65, same as when they are pedestrians, the deterioration of abilities, the eyesight, hearing, combined with taking medication, so normally slowing the reaction time, will get them involved in accidents, or could get them involved in accidents, better said. Normally the accident will happen when we need a quick response. You see that busy entries, busy exits in a motorway, in a dual carriageway, or a complex traffic situation like a busy intersection, roundabouts in Madrid, for example, that are quite a nightmare. So while you're deciding if we enter, if we not, and put it into action, it could be too late and getting involved in an accident. And apart from that, I may add here disorientation as well. And sometimes they are in a motorway, they are going somewhere new, and while they are reading the signs on the road and discerning, thinking whether to take the exit or not, they start decelerating without noticing. Yeah, they let go of the accelerator, and we could get involved in an accident because the driver behind, if the braking lights are not on, maybe we realize it too late. Yeah, so that is another typical accident involving elderly. And lastly, when we talk about two-wheelers, we talk about, in general, cyclists, mopeds, and motorcycles. But if we need to be more specific, the majority of accidents among two-wheelers will be motorcycles. Yeah, 60% of the accidents involving two-wheelers will be motorcycle accidents. The majority of them in general happen in the city, same as with the rest of the drivers, but the majority of fatalities will happen outside of the city, same as with the rest of the drivers. Yeah, for drivers is the same statistics all along. These accidents happen normally because of a distraction, unless we are asked about motorcycles. Motorcycle accidents happen very often because their drivers enter the opposite direction lane, lacking visibility, or even if there is a car coming, profiting or thinking that the acceleration of the motorcycle will allow them to come back to the right-hand lane safely. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So, for example, on DGT website, you go online and you look for the traffic department here in Spain. They upload some short videos of cameras in the road with situations where these accidents happen. And the majority that you could see for motorcycles happen at those precise moments. Conventional roads, where there is a solid line dividing lanes because of the lack of visibility and performing an overtaking. Or another clip that I saw the other day, another video, was overtaking between two trucks, one truck, another truck, and the motorcycle in the middle. So imagine the consequences. Yeah, I'm not saying all of them, absolutely not. Actually, I love motorcycles myself, but these things happen. The majority of accidents then, if we talk about motorcycles, will be frontal impacts. If we talk about the rest of the two-wheelers, I am afraid that the distraction could be happening from the cyclist or moped driver's side, or from the other automobile driver's side. You see this moment when we are changing lanes and we don't check the blind spots properly, it's easy to get a two-wheeler side by side and the accident happening. So, if you're asked about motorcycles, it's normally a frontal impact. If you're asked about two-wheelers in general, it's normally a side, a lateral impact. Recommendations now, apart from avoiding traveling side by side with them, which is not allowed, will be keeping the safety distance.
Wait, what was that about with the motorcycles and the you said side by side is
traveling side by side with a motorcycle, or what I said about the overtaking. Which one? Like, traveling side by side with anyone is prohibited. Yeah, the only ones allowed to do that is
two motors are not allowed to travel in the same, next to each other. You mean front or back, unless if you're overtaken.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're in a traffic jam, if you tell me. Yeah, they're in a traffic jam.
Majority of the accidents is what? It's head on, or probably with what it caused stopping and them running into the back.
Motorcycles is head on, but because they're invading the oncoming traffic direction where they shouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it's a bicycle or a moped, then most of the time, because another driver, when changing lanes, fails to check the blind spots. So cyclists and mopeds is normally a lateral impact. If it's a motorcycle, it's normally a front. It's a head-on collision. But in the motorcycle case, because of invading the opposite direction when they weren't supposed to.
Okay, so motorcycles are head-on and motors are sides.
Mopeds and cycles are sides.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, dears. 11:57, I believe, is the perfect moment to take a break, isn't it? Let's take 13 minutes this time, so we meet back at past 10. We finish this, we talk about chapter 17, and we're gonna have time to go through all the questions I had in the PowerPoint presentation. So thank you so much, everyone. See you at 12:10. Yeah, past 10.
Okay. Have fun with your 10th coffee.
Yeah, I need to fill it up.